Okay guys, today for the pie crust recipe, this is for a double crust. I like to make two just in case I'm going to make two pies, or if I'm going to make like an apple pie where I need two pie crusts. And if I don't, well, I just roll it out and I keep one in the freezer for the next time that I'm needing a pie crust. Okay, here what I have is 3 cups of all-purpose flour, okay? I have 1 teaspoon of kosher salt and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Okay, what we do is I just give this a mix. This is really easy, and I wanted to make this by hand so you can see that you don't need any special equipment to make a wonderful pie crust. So now what we are going to add is the butter and the shortening. Okay, and here are 12 teaspoons of butter. And I like to cut the butter into very small cubes, and that makes it easy to cut it in to the flour. And here what I have is a 1/4 cup of shortening, vegetable shortening. My favorite shortening is the Crisco shortening. I have found that that just gives it a lot of flavor, and it just makes the pie crust very, very flaky. So what we do is we just add the butter and the shortening, and I keep this in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it so that it stays cold. Okay, and what you do is you take your pastry cutter. Let me show you. I have a pastry cutter here. These are not expensive at all. They're just a couple of bucks. If you don't have one, you can use 2 forks or 2 butter knives, and then you just cut this into the flour until you have very small pea-sized shapes. Okay, sometimes it gets caught into the pastry cutter, so I have my little handy spatula here, and then I just scrape it off and keep going. Okay, and this is going to take about 1/2 cup of very cold ice water. I like to put some ice cubes into my water, but I don't let the ice cubes go into the flour. You just want the water very, very cold. And that makes for a very flaky pie crust. Okay, so we're just going to do this a couple of times. And this is what it starts to look like. I'm going to show you. So you start getting these little chunks in there. You don't want to knock them all out, because when you make the pie crust, you like to see a little bit of the butter melting in there. It's just so delicious that way. But these are still a little bit big. Okay, and there we go. Once everything is incorporated, see how you get these little flakes of butter? And that's exactly what you want. That's what makes a very flaky pie crust. Okay, now we are going to add the water, and the water we will mix with our hands. And I start off with 3 tablespoons of water. Okay, you want to go a little bit at a time. Don't overdo it. So you just start mixing it in with your hand, and it'll start coming together. It's going to take about 8 to 10 tablespoons. It just depends on the weather that day. Okay, I'm going to add 3 more. And you just give it a squeeze with your hand, and it starts to clump together, so we know we're getting close. Okay, we're going to need a little bit more. Patience is what we need here in this recipe. Once you learn this, you'll never have another store-bought pie crust. Okay, now this is coming together real nicely. As you can see, just squeezing it with my hand, and it's staying together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it out on the counter, and I'm going to break it up into 2, and I have my bench scraper here, and just squeeze it together. Okay, just like that. Squeeze it together. See how it comes together? And that's it. We're going to cut this into 2 sections, and we are going to wrap it in some saran wrap. Okay, I'm going to try to get this as even as possible. Okay, we'll try to Okay, that's about right. Okay, now let me get some saran wrap so we can wrap it. Okay, I place my first disc on here, press it down, and that just makes it easier for you to roll it. We're going to put these in the refrigerator. Okay, you wrap it just like that. This is going into the refrigerator because we're going to use it for this 9-inch pie plate that I'm going to show you how to roll out in a little bit. This other one, I'm going to wrap it and I'm going to put it into the freezer. I'm going to double wrap it and put it into the freezer for another occasion. So I just press it down, put it into my saran wrap. And that's it. It's going into the freezer. I just mark it and I put the date on it so that I know, and I put it into a double bag and it's ready to go for the next pie crust. So I'll be back to roll this out in a few minutes. We'll be right back. Okay guys, the dough has been sitting in the refrigerator for about a half an hour or so. And we're gonna unwrap it and I'm gonna roll it out and show you how I crimp my pie crust. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna do, let me get this out of the way. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw out some flour on my work area here, because you don't want it to stick. Not a whole bunch, just enough to, and then I get my rolling pin because the dough is kind of firm. See, and if it sticks a little bit, just throw a little bit of flour. Turn it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just try to get it as even as you can. And I try to go over the size of the pie plate, about 2 inches or so. Okay, that should be about right. A little tiny bit more. And now, so that I can wrap it around, I take my rolling pin and I wrap the pie crust over it. And then I take my pie plate and I just roll it over just like that. Then I bring it up like this, just to drop it into the plate. I try not to stretch it. I try to drop it in there so that it doesn't stretch. And then if I have too much excess, like I do here in some areas, in this piece here, this is fine. But like this area here, it's a bit too much. So I just trim it off. I just get a pair of kitchen shears and trim it off. And then the rest of it, what I do is I just tuck it under, just like that. But if it's too much, like I said, just trim it off. And then I crimp the edges. You don't have to if you don't want to, it's up to you. I like to crimp them. And then I just use my fingers, just like that. Nothing fancy. Okay, just like that. Okay, now at this point, if I'm gonna pre-bake my pie shell, because I need it for a pie that needs pre-baking, what I like to do is I like to dock the inside of the pie crust, and then I place it back in the refrigerator. And the purpose of that is that when you bake it, your pie shell won't shrink. Or it helps to eliminate a lot of the shrinkage. It's gonna shrink a little bit, but not too bad. Okay, so I just go around all the edge of the pie and I dock it with the fork. Now I place this back in the refrigerator and it's ready to go. Isn't that a pretty pie crust? Okay guys, that's it for this recipe. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and want to see more of these, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel and turn on that notification bell down there so you can be notified every time I upload a video. Thank you for watching, and please share with friends and family. And our Facebook page is at Virtual Kitchen with Laura. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye.